Hey everybody, I hope this video finds everybody doing well, and I'm sure a lot of us are still processing what we're seeing going on social media and YouTube regarding a certain activist, which you can't take that serious anymore. I just want everybody to realize something, that from my perspective, how easy it would be for me in particular to walk away from this community. And it's not because somebody's threatening me. It's because somebody doesn't like the way I do videos, thinking you're going to chase me off. It's not going to happen. But I want to let everybody kind of see what my life has been for the past 30 plus years. You see, 30 years ago, I started a business, mountain man business. You guys can kind of look at the camera. I'm going to show some pictures. That's my mother waving at the camera. That's Shyla and Kim, the campfire. But that little green tent right there, that's how I started my mountain man business. I actually bought the material and I sewed that together myself over 30 years ago. Now, I had a table of trade goods. You can probably barely see somebody looking at my trade goods right there. Everything on my table was handmade by myself, my wife Kim, and my daughter Shyla. But when I first did this rendezvous, the very first time I set up, I was what they called a greenhorn. I had a lot of things to learn as I wanted to make my business grow, our family business grow. And one of the things that somebody said is that, well, this green tent's not period correct. They really didn't have olive drab as a color back then. Well, I proved that wrong through years of research looking at trade good manifests and the amount of material that was available to the world at that time, and olive drab was definitely one of those colors. But in order to try to fit into this community of mountain men traders, they said, well, you got to really have a white tent because a white tent's more period correct. Well, I didn't have the money at the time to buy a tent, so I come up with the brilliant idea of taking that green tent, filling a tub full of water and putting some bleach, and hoping to bleach out some of the green, and hopefully it would be white. Well, it didn't happen. It ended up yellow. And not only that, it weakened the material so that after 4 or 5 rendezvous after that, the material started tearing very easily. But that right there is probably a full view of how I began my mountain man business. That's all I had. It started from very, very, very humble beginnings. And, you know, the more I did to develop the craft of making powder horns, forging knives, building bows, building black powder guns, things like that, and selling my trade goods, I was able to upgrade and finally get what some people would call a respectable trading lodge. This was actually taken in 1999. Okay? And what I have today is literally twice, if not 3 times as big as this. But over the years, I have met some of the most interesting people, and I've been welcomed in this community in ways that a lot of other people that have done what I do don't get welcomed. For instance, I've been asked to pose for pictures that end up in local newspapers, maybe even newspaper itself. There's a picture of me throwing knife and tomahawk. And in fact, this particular event right here, I actually earned a new camp name because of this event. I actually started calling my shots. I was being a loudmouth braggart, but the tomahawk God was with me this particular day because I called 3 of my shots right in a row. And because of that, I earned a new camp name. It's Le Frère du Faucon. I was actually given the name in French, and it's Brother of the Hawk. But over the years, I've been able to do some very unique and interesting things. It's another whole community that I could easily walk into today and wouldn't have to put up with some of the crap that we do in this community. But one of my biggest honors was photographed. This is part of it right here. If you look at this photograph, it was me being adopted into the Menominee Indian tribe. I could walk into this world today, friends, and have a level of comfort beyond compare. What's the point of all of this? Well, the point is that we as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, we need to have a community. We should strive for a community that is very welcoming and very comforting to those leaving Watchtower. And having stated that, I know from personal experience that's a pipe dream. It's never going to happen, because you're always going to have somebody like a Lloyd that's going to develop a cult within this community, which is going to develop another cult within another community, because that's just the nature of things. That's just how it goes. That's human nature, because we all tend to gravitate towards what makes us most comfortable. Here again, my adoption into the Menominee tribe. Very comfortable for me to walk into that. There's been a lot of YouTube videos, which fantastic, pointing out the inconsistencies of a certain somebody, hypocrisies, things like that. But I think what's disturbed me more than anything else is some of the other YouTubers that seem to be able to justify those type of actions. That's what I find very disturbing, because all that does is that just validates what Watchtower says about people that leave Watchtower, leave Jehovah's Love, his organization. They go and do this, they go and do that, yada, yada, yada. That's human nature. That's all Watchtower is playing upon, is human nature. Because no matter what group you leave, you're going to go and gravitate towards people that will fulfill that need within you. But the hypocrisy comes in when you sit in front of your cameras trying to explain to others the bad behavior of an organization such as Watchtower while you yourself are doing it. That's living a double life. And this isn't anything to make light of, because there are people in this community that have been victimized by such actions, by such behavior. And to make light of that, per se, by saying it's none of anybody's business, well, ask Candace Conte how old she was. She's a grown-up woman now, but do you think that those nightmares leave her? Do you think when somebody is taking a trip or a vacation to a foreign land to sample the local cuisine, that somebody like Candace Conte, Debbie McDaniel, those people that have written books and publicly put out there their abuse, do you think that it gives them women nightmares? It's really amazing to me friends, how many ex-Jehovah Witness YouTubers, women in particular, are not shouting this down, what that man has done? Do you guys have any clue why Kim and I have to unplug our telephone about 8 o'clock at night? Do you know how many phone calls we get from distraught Jehovah's Witnesses, ex-JWs? Do you know how many phone calls I've gotten from men, ex-elders, that are crying because of the harm that they've been part of? If you friends got what Kim and I got, you'd see this whole thing in a much, much, much more serious context. I sit in front of this camera and I tell Watchtower, you have no idea the amount of emails that we get. The same holds true for the ex-JW community. You friends, you have no idea how many abuse stories we get from particular ex-Jehovah Witness women. You have no idea. This is why I take this so serious. What that guy's done and is going to continue to do. My videos, our videos will never come down. And I hope and I pray to all that's holy and righteous that none of you friends will ever take your videos down. Because this needs to serve as a warning to anybody waking up, coming into this community. You need to be on guard. You just didn't leave the cult of Watchtower. You can come into this community and join another cult because you're connecting with a personality. That's why years ago it was very good for this community to be doing what they were doing with Steve Hassan's bite model. Now I have a different view, a different take on Steve Hassan this day, now that I've learned more. But his bite model is still very valid. If you're in a group that controls your behavior, controls the information, controls your thought, controls your emotions, then you're in another cult. And I've seen that happen in this community, in particular with ex-Jehovah Witness Reddit. I've watched them control your behavior. I've watched them control the information. I've watched them control your thoughts and your emotions. I've watched that. I've made reference to it many, many, many times over the years. Just go chum the water with Mike and Kim Blood at XJW Reddit and watch the feeding frenzy begin. And the same thing happens over in some of the ex-Jehovah Witness Bible discussion groups. We're not welcome there because they want to control your behavior. They want to control the information. They want to control your thoughts. And they want to control your emotions. Be very careful, friends. Be very careful and keep a watchful eye to who's saying what, who's doing what, and the behavior that's taking place. Just today, friends, I'm going to put my finger over the name so you don't see it. Just today, a next witness took the time to hand type a letter. How many of you friends even get a hand typed letter anymore? Well, think about the time that somebody took to honor us with the letters such as this. Dear Kim, thought I'd type you an old snail mail letter. Thank you very much. When we opened this up, I was like, oh my goodness. Look at the love. Look at the time to do this. Plus, it's fun to do, she says. Sorry for the errors. No autocorrection. Been enjoying your videos the last couple years. Thought I'd add my name to your next coffin edition. It's been a tough couple of years because of, not so much because of COVID, but, the other things. This person Gave her disassociation letter in July 2020, and of course the family stopped talking to them. But hey, we were all once there, weren't we? Basically a born-in. But things are getting better for this person slowly. New friends are hard to find. Yes, you miss the camaraderie. You see, friends, I could walk right back into this world and I'd have instant camaraderie. Instant camaraderie. Going on a little bit. I'm on the fence with my spirituality at this point. Nothing feels right to me. I guess the board directed that for me. Well, that's what people like to think. That Watchtower, this is their problem. Watchtower made me sexually repressed. No, Watchtower did not do that. The Bible did that. All Watchtower did was capitalize on the words. That's all that took place. Okay? This person goes on. I met 2 ex-Moonies yesterday, so they get what it's like to leave a high control group. And in a lot of ways, there are some factions in this ex-Jehovah Witness community that are high control groups. Just kind of skipping down. I know you're a very busy person. I'm really not. I love yard work and art in general. Going on, I hope this letter finds you well and to let you know you are appreciated. P.S. I get my husband to watch your videos sometimes. He was never a JW, and she was married to an elder for 34 years. Thank you so much, DL, for this letter. It's greatly appreciated. So where do we go from here, friends? Well, this thing with Lloyd is far from over. Far from over. And personally, I still think we need to discuss it. We need to process this. Don't keep it inside. Process it. You know, I had to have a conversation with Jane Doe the other day after she did a video about wanting to hug Lloyd. And yeah, there are a lot of people that do feel sorry for this person. But all in all, he's done this to himself. He started doing this to my family back in 2014. And it's never stopped. That's why I had to do that video sitting around my campfire offering him a cup of coffee. Because at that point in time, he was calling an ex-Jehovah Witness woman, grandmother of 7 or 8, the 4-letter C word. It's not going to stop, even to the point of where he's now trying to enact fraud in this community with some of us in that letter. Extortion. His behavior is never going to change. So my conversation with Jane Doe was, after she said she wanted to hug him, was, well, I live here in the Southwest. I'm not going to pick up a rattlesnake and hug it because you're going to get bit. You just don't do that. So I reminded Jane Doe about that propaganda hit piece he did, where he took a lot of us out of context and shut a lot of that conversation down. He controlled the behavior, controlled the information, controlled your thoughts, controlled your emotion. But what was most damaging beside taking us out of context is he also put music to it. Go back and listen. Listen to the music. You can't even barely watch a commercial on TV without there being music to it. You can't even watch a television program without there being music to it. That's how a lot of propaganda works. This community, in my opinion, needs to spend several months in conjunction with this story, re-examining how cults work, how cult personalities work and things like that, so that we can remind ourselves what to look for in a cult, even in this ex-Jehovah Witness community. You see, because even if you leave Watchtower, there's going to be those that want to control you. I don't want to control anybody, because I want you to be what I view myself as, a free, sovereign spirit. And as a free, sovereign spirit, there's only one criteria to be a free, sovereign spirit. You know what that criteria is? Develop a keen sense of critical thinking. That's it. Once you develop and have control of this keen critical thinking ability, you can see right through any attempt of somebody trying to control you. Just like that. You can see through it. Think about it, friends. We have this ability as a community, and I've said this before, to educate the world on a level about cults, cult identity, the control mechanism, that no other escaping person from a cult can actually see. Because Watchtower is that destructive. Even to the point to where they've convinced you that letting your child die on an operating table refusing blood is pleasing to God. It's disturbing. It really, really is disturbing. So I hope a lot of you friends can kind of get where I'm coming from. I know I seem like I'm all over the place, but I'm still trying to process stuff too, especially when I look back and think that I can walk into another world tomorrow and I wouldn't really miss what we have here. I really wouldn't miss it, friends, because I have another life that I can easily walk right into today. There's not one weekend in this country, the United States, that does not have a Mountain Man rendezvous that I could go to. Not one weekend, bar none. Christmas, New Year's, they're everywhere. Of course, I got to look for them now because of the whole COVID thing, but they are coming back. And I could very easily, very, very easily make a whole load of videos that surround the Mountain Man lifestyle and build a channel on that. Probably wouldn't have half the headaches that we get here. So I hope you friends can kind of process this, take a look at the value of what's really in front of you, and learn to value that at a much higher level. Because those that think that your money is going towards somebody to help bring down a cult like Watchtower, well, you're almost as delusional as the person telling you that. It really is, because there's only going to be one way to bring down Watchtower, and that's educating lawyers. It's educating lawyers first, and second, educating your congressman. But this day and age, that's probably an exercise not worth doing, because some of those congressmen are writing the very laws that Watchtower is using to get away with CSA. These are the same very people writing the laws that are harming society. Friends, have a good day, and thanks for watching. Bye.